Hi everybody, this is Miss Faina. Today we're going to be solving quadratic equations. So we have a little acronym, ROCKS. So it stands for roots, zeros, x-intercepts, and solutions. Okay, all four of these words mean the exact same thing, and they're all the x-intercepts, all the x-zeros, and it's what we're solving for when we're solving a quadratic equation. So after finding your solutions on your calculator, change the decimal answers to fractions. Write both of the answers down on your paper. So I'm going to start by working the odds, and then you're going to do the evens. So the first one, what are the solutions to the equation? We're given 5x plus 1 times x minus 5 equals 0. So we are going to graph it. Now, in order to use the calculator, it has to, or even just to solve in general, it has to be set equal to 0. And all we're going to type in is the stuff in the parentheses. So I'm going to go over to my calculator and I'm going to graph this. So I'm going to go home, discard my changes, new document, and I want to graph. And I have to type it in exactly as I saw it. So it was 5x minus 1 times x plus 5. I'm going to double check to make sure I copied it down right. So 5x plus 1, x minus 5. Oh, see, look, I had my signs backwards. So 5x plus 1 and x minus 5. I hit enter, it graphs it. Okay, again, to find the zeros, x-intercepts, solutions, or roots, I'm going to go to Menu, Trace, Graph Trace, and I'm using the left and right arrows until I see the word zeros pop up on my screen. Now, notice I'm way down here and I've already missed where one of the zeros were. So I'm going to go back up until I get it. I have a y-intercept. There it is. There's a 0. So this 0 gives it to me as a decimal, negative 0.2, 0. So that's the first one. So I'm just going to write x equals negative 0.2. And remember, we have to change it to a decimal, but I'll do that at the end. I want to go ahead and find the second 0, x-intercept, root, or solution. So I'm going to hit that side arrow until I get to the other 0, which is right there. It tells me that one is 5. Okay, now I need to change the negative 0.2 to a fraction. So to do so on my calculator, I go home, discard my changes, and I want a new calculator. I'm going to type in negative 0.2. I'm going to go to Menu. I'm going to go to Number, and I want to approximate to fraction. All that junk comes up, and we're going to hit Enter, and it gives me the fraction of a negative 1/5. So I have two solutions to this graph, negative 0.2 or a negative 1/5 and 5. Okay, looking at number 3, what is the negative solution to the equation? So we just want to know the negative solution. Again, we're going to graph it, and then once we find the negative solution, if it's a decimal, we change it to a fraction and we write down both answers. Okay, so now, whenever you're typing it in the calculator, I'm not going to use A's. I'm going to keep them as X's. So just keep that in mind. You can always change your variables to X's. It does not matter. So I have 2x minus 5 times 3x plus 2. Again, we had to make sure that it was set equal to 0, and we're just going to type in this part right here. So I'm going to go home, discard my changes, new graph. I'm going to type in my equation. It was 2x minus 5 and 3x plus 1. I think I have that wrong, but and I messed up. Let's double check. 2x minus 5 and 3x plus 2. See, I told you I had it wrong. Okay, I graph it. I just want the negative 0, so that's going to be, let's see, menu trace, graph trace. It's going to be the one on the left side, so this one. And notice I get this really weird thing with an e to the negative 12. Anytime you see something like that, that just means 0. And we know it's our x-intercept because 0 popped up. We know it's our solution. We know it's our root because that word 0 popped up. So don't mind that. That's just the calculator way to say 0. What we're looking for is that negative 0.667. Okay, so x equals negative 0.667. I need to change that to a decimal. When you see something like that, that means it's a repeating decimal. So the more zeros or the more sixes you type in, the better it's going to be able to approximate that decimal for you. So I'm just going to type in a bunch of 6s and then 7, and I'm going to go to menu, number, approximate to fraction, enter, and I get a negative 2/3. Okay, so I get that. Looking at the next one, what are the solutions to the equation? Again, solutions just mean x-intercepts. Okay, but if I notice, my equation is not set equal to 0, so I need to move this over by doing the opposite, so I'm going to subtract it. So when I do that, I get n squared. Let me just write it out. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 113 from both sides. Okay, I combine it to its like term only. So when I do that, I have a negative 8 minus 113. So that gives me n squared minus 121. And now it's set equal to 0. And I'm going to type that into my calculator. So n squared minus 121. So I'm going to go back to my calculator, home, discard my changes, new graph. And I'm not going to use n squared. I'm going to use x squared because I just think it's going to work better that way. So x squared minus 121. Nothing looks like it's showing up, but when I go to menu, trace, graph trace, notice there it is. Okay, I'm going to use my arrows and go over, and it tells me that my first solution, I'll get there eventually. So notice I'm like in the negative still, and for the y value, so I passed it. So it may take some time. Okay. There it goes, 0. Okay, negative 11. So now I want to go all the way to the other side, and I get positive 11. So if I look at the answer choice, I had negative 11 and positive 11, which is answer choice C. Okay. For numbers 7 through 10, find the solutions to the given equation. So again, it's just more of what we've been doing. I'm going to do 7 and 9 with you, and then you can do 8 and 10 on your own. Okay. Again, we have to make sure it's set equal to 0, so I need to subtract 49 from both sides. So I get 4n squared minus 49, and those 0 out, and so I'm left with 0. Again, I just want to type in the stuff before the equal sign, so 4n squared minus 49. Remember, I'm going to change the n's to x's, so 4x squared minus 49, and then I'm just going to find the zeros. Okay, so new graph. We have 4x squared minus 49. I graph it. Okay, I have 2 zeros, so menu, trace, graph trace. So when I do that, notice how low it goes down. There it goes. So 1 0 is negative 3.5. The second 0 is positive 3.5. So you can use n or x, it doesn't matter. So n equals negative 3.5 and positive 3.5. Okay, we need to make sure we change them to decimals. So I'm going to go home, discard my changes, new calculator. I'm going to type in just 3.5. I can put a negative sign in front of it. So menu, number, approximate to fraction, hit enter, 7/2. So I have n is equal to a negative 7/2 and a positive 7/2. Okay, the last one that I'm going to work out is a squared minus 2a minus 6 equals 2. Again, we have to make sure that it's set equal to 0, so I need to subtract this 2, and I can only subtract it from its like term. So when I do that, I get a squared minus 2a minus 8 is equal to those 0 out, 0. I'm going to type in the stuff before the equal sign. And again, I am going to change into the calculator the a's to the x. Okay, so x squared minus 2x minus 8. So I go home, discard my changes, new graph. I have x squared minus 2x minus 8. I graph it. I want to find the zeros, so I go to menu, trace, graph trace. I look at my first 0, it tells me it's negative 2. I look at my second 0, I get positive 4. So x equals, or a equals, negative 2 and positive 4. Okay, so this is just using the calculator to find the solutions, the roots, the x-intercepts, the zeros. If you need any help, please make sure you reach out to your teacher so we can help you. Other than that, have a great day, Rangers.